Alright, so I'm going to use this chassis for my my radio here. This here is an old NEMS-Clark, I believe it's a telemetry receiver. Here's the name tag. So I've already removed the signal meter for use in my my earlier AGC work. But as you can tell, it has a nice gear train here, and you know, there are some very nice toggle switches. I might recycle these. Certainly, we'll recycle the handles. Let's take a look at what's inside. There are handles actually on the back. Turn this around. First, a look at the back. So here's the back, and we got handles on the back, which is nice. And there are already some connections here. We've got an N, we've got a power cord, some terminal strip, BNCs, a couple of potentiometers. So it's got some good stuff on the back that I can use. Snap screws to take the top cover off. It's 100% shielded. I think that's the important thing that I'm looking for. So if we remove the top, you can see what's inside. Solid tube signal chain. So we have a power supply. These, I believe, are power supply chokes, oil capacitors. Here's the VFO over here. IF and FM discriminator. You know, rectifier. One of these is a rectifier. I think this might be a regulator here. 12 AU7s. There's a bunch of 12 AU7s. There's the output, audio output transformer. There's a little tiny speaker. Not sure I'm going to use that, but I kind of like a bigger, bassier speaker, so we'll see what happens. But generally pretty neat inside. Let me flip it over. Here's the back. Backside's beautiful old radio construction with the cable lacing and everything. That's how they used to make them. So, but we're going to scrap this one and use the metal chassis for this project. So, pretty nice. Oh, there are also some BNC connections and so forth already in here that I might use, or reuse rather. And looking at the front again, this thing's pretty heavy. The front is like a lot of old tube stuff. It's almost like a blank canvas, actually, because this is a metal plate here, and once you pull that off, it'll be pretty much just a few holes to deal with, and I should be able to machine this out and make it look really good. All right, here we go. I stripped down the NEMS-Clark receiver here, so now we have a fresh canvas to work with. So it's got a nice paint job on it. Pulled out all the really heavy transformers, chokes, and oil capacitors from the back. And here's the bottom. Clean that all out. So, should make for a really nice chassis. Okay, so I've completed the front panel layout of my chassis. You can see here all the lines penciled in, and I'm about to machine it out here in my drill press. Okay, so I finished all of the machining of the front panel. You can see all the extra holes and whatnot here. So the next step is to prep it for painting, because I'm going to paint this black. I think black is a good color, kind of like this radio over here. So, okay, I'm done with painting here. As you can see, I really covered up all the labels here. I used Bondo to do that, and there are a couple of extra holes right there and there, and I covered them up and painted them over. If I didn't paint the labels over, it would look kind of like this here, audio gain, but that's alright. That's going to be covered by this this plate here. So, that is the front panel after paint. Okay, so I had to put chassis around the driver, pre-driver, the power, some metal, some fittings around the power amplifier, and the low-pass filter, because I'd like to shield these guys from the rest of the radio to reduce oscillation. so looking at the low-pass filter assembly, you can see the lines going in for PTT and 6-meter enable. And here's the top. So we have feed-throughs for those two, and here are the receive channel transmit antenna. Looking at the pre-driver and driver, here's the, flip this around. There's the top. So we got a nice heatsink here, and again the 28, the 12, and the PTT. And then here is the final amplifier. So I've added these 28 volts PTT, RF out, RF in, and I've added these standoffs so that it will be able to sit down on top of the inside of the chassis. Okay, so the paint's complete on the front panel. I'll show you what the layout inside is going to look like. So I'm going to try to use a switch mode power supply over here. Here's the PA, driver, and the output low-pass filter assembly. All the receive electronics will go on the bottom of the chassis, so they'll be shielded from the transmit. Okay, so I finished the machining on the inside of this chassis here, and if you notice, this is an old tube chassis, so there's a lot of big holes and so on and so forth. So what I do is I grab this some of this tape. I guess it's for duct work or what have you. So I used the taped up these holes to shield the transmitter, which will be on the top, all the transmit power amplifier and drivers and so forth, from the receiver, which will be on the bottom. Okay, so the front panel of the chassis is now complete. As you can see, all the controls and layout looks pretty awesome. It looks like a digital radio, as a digital radio should look, from the late 50s or early 60s. There's the top, and actually in here will be the frequency display. This is plastic, and I painted that and put a piece of masking tape over it. So this is empty right now, but the frequency display will be in there. And here are all the controls. This, I'm going to make a card to put here that tells you how to operate the radio. Signal meter, transmit meter, line in, power, manual transmit, tune, transmit tune, tuning the radio, function, band switch, and I think we'll have key, headphone, mic, antenna, function, on, indicator, AF gain, transmit gain, RF gain. Now we've got the all the front panel controls laid out and mounted, and we now have the LCD display installed. You can see it right there inside the box. We have the power supply, switch mode power supply mounted inside, and again here's the back of the LCD display. Okay, so now all the equipment is mounted inside the chassis. Here's the front, and then inside on the top there, you can see the switch mode power supply, PA, driver, pre-driver, and output low-pass filters. And if we flip it over, you can see the IF front end, receiver front end, and the AF video. So receiver front end is underneath this board. This is the front end mixer, IF beat frequency oscillator, and the audio, receive and transmit audio, and the AGC board right there. And the synthesizer is right underneath this plate here, shielded. Okay, so I got the main power switch and frequency display lamp working, so I'll turn it on. And you can see that there's illumination there on the LCD. Okay, I'm wiring the inside of the radio. quite a mess right now, but we're getting them together one at a time. Alright, so I got all the DC wiring going to the IF boards, and then we're going to fire up the power here. And you could see the digital displays working there. That's fine. So, looking down here at the back, we have the 8-volt regulator, 12 volts, the audio board, BFO product detector, the front end mixer, front end's underneath here, bandpass filter, and the IF.